I guess, gave us enlightenment to the fact that there is demand for a product if we offer the right one. If we can offer things that are important to an investor, right? Like you're going to need cash management is disaster.
And unfortunately, the only way to get to that is to deal with some struggle and some hardship, not be fucking handed everything.
No.
This is why I have
right.
to put my dreams on the back burner because I'm going to be responsible for a whole family now.
Yeah.
And I need that stability for my family. Yeah.
And in reality, it's just educating them, but education takes a while.
Takes a lot of time.
So some of those
for
people
sure.
that you had to educate, it takes a year, 2 years, and then finally it's... So what we realize is we can't just go to anybody for an investor. You have to go to someone who's either entrepreneurial or has a real estate background that you're not having to educate everything.
Welcome back to the Revamp podcast. Super excited today. Got a great episode for you. If you're new here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It helps us bring in other awesome guests like Josh Wollaston.
I'm pumped to be here, man.
Thanks
Long
for
time
coming
coming.
in, man.
Long time coming.
Man. Love it. SPG Capital.
Right there.
You and
Always
Alex.
repping it.
Man, I love it, dude. Like, I don't know, just to kind of hype you up for a second, right? I've been flipping houses now for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a lot of lenders along the way. I've worked with commercial lenders. I've worked with hard money lenders. I've worked with private lenders and everything. And for the past, I don't know what it's been, 5, 6, 7 flips or something that I've done now, working with you guys on it and everything. It's like, you get it, you know, like you make the process simple and digestible. And for a guy like me, where kind of fix and flip isn't really my main focus right now, I'm kind of doing it as like a little side thing because I'm really good at it from, you know, in the past and everything.
Yep.
And, you know, I seriously wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now on the fix and flip side if it wasn't for the product that you guys offer and the level of service that you do on the lending side. So I commend you for that.
That was the goal. I mean, we kind of stumbled into lending, right? We were real estate investors ourselves. We went through a drought where, you know, we had a lot of private money for our own projects, which dealing with private lenders is a pain.
Yeah.
So we fell into this drought. We didn't have as many deals, so we were paying all of our people back. And they're like, well, don't you have another deal to put it into? And at the time, we didn't. We were, you know, volume was kind of slow. The timing just wasn't great. So we're like, well, not right now. We'll get back to you, though. And after like a month or two of not having any deals, these guys keep knocking on the door. Hey, do you have a new deal yet? You know, anything I could put into, invest into? And we're like, man, we're missing something here. So thankfully, we had, you know, some mentors now to us that were in the space, lending space. And we kind of got to learn from them and see, you know, what are some of the mechanics. We joined some masterminds to learn to make sure, look, if we're going to connect the dots, because we know plenty of real estate investors like yourself.
Right. Yep.
And there's such a demand for a private lender, not a hard money lender, someone who gets the game like we do and can be a little bit more flexible and understands underwriting. So we kind of just became the connector of, all right, well, we have this private money. We have all these deals from trusted borrowers that we know who are better flippers than we are. You're a better flipper than I am. So how do we connect the two and give both sides what they want? Yeah, we give a higher return to our investors, but we also give our fix and flippers a better product than what they can get on the street. And now it's worked out so well because we now have the best borrowers. And we have, in my side, great investors that aren't calling me every day because they know what we do.
That's right.
Is such a demand, and we do everything we say we're going to do. So it's been crazy how it's all unfolded.
Yep.
Because while we started the lending company is when I quit my W-2 to go full time.
Okay.
So it was like a whole new world opened up at that time, and it's just taken off. Last year we did 60 deals. I always brag because we had 0 defaults. And as a lender, a lot of people hear a lender, they're like, oh man, but what happens if
if you got to foreclose, if you got to take it back.
I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
That's why we're so specific with who we lend to.
Yep.
And the product we offer, because I don't want to. I mean,
100%. If you have to, you have to. You still underwrite and everything, you know. Yep.
Obviously, and we have the crews, we have the construction crews and the connections to get it done. But I just want it seamless on both sides so that everybody wins.
Dude, I love that. All right, so take me back to your entry into the world of real estate investing and how you even got to the point where you were able to make that pivot to say, hey, we're in kind of a dry spout with deals. Yeah. Let's pivot to over here. Take us back.
Man, it's been a journey. So Alex and I, who's my business partner, we met in college. We both played soccer together. We're roommates. And I remember us kind of just talking as we were getting closer to graduation, like, what are we going to do? and we stumbled upon Rich Dad Poor Dad. And
Always starts with Rich Dad Poor Dad, man. I love it. It's the great connector.
It was always like, personal financial books is what I was kind of getting into. I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to get out? Because I already know what's coming. You're going to find yourself in a 9-to-5. Most likely it's not going to be that fulfilling. Like, there's got to be other ways. So Rich Dad
What were you
Poor Dad,
majoring in?
I was majoring in accounting because they didn't have a finance degree.
Okay.
And I did not like accounting, dude. I hated it. I was so glad that I ended up getting a job at Citibank. But I even looked at the accounting route to become a CPA, and I just realized all the people I was interviewing with, I didn't want to be them. That was light bulb moment. I was like, nope, this is not for me. But Rich Dad Poor Dad opened my eyes because it just kind of spelled out everything I felt.
Yep.
I knew that there was another way. I knew I just needed to find the vehicle. And that book taught me real estate. Now, maybe it's embellished a little bit.
Yeah.
Passive income through real estate, hands-free. You get enough of them, pay all your bills. You can sit back on the beach and drink pina coladas. No.
Yeah.
Not reality at all.
It's a good motivator. It's good inspiration.
Great motivator.
Yeah.
And that gave us the idea of, okay, the vehicle is real estate. So how do we stockpile as many rentals as possible? And this was kind of our goal getting out of college was, all right, how do we figure out a way to learn the game, to buy some rental properties, get enough that, we can ultimately have financial freedom. So that was the goal. Alex went, when we graduated, I ended up getting a 9-to-5 job at Citibank. My thought was, I'll go there. I'm going to learn the ropes from a huge company. Obviously, they're successful. I'm going to have great mentors. There's a ton of smart people there, like much smarter than I am, people who have, masters and went to Ivy League. So I'll learn as much as I can. On the side, I'm going to build up this portfolio, and then, over time, I'll be able to get out. Well, that's not an overnight journey. So that was 2015 is when we graduated college, and it was like, all right, here's the blueprint. We're going to find some rental properties. We didn't buy our first rental property for a whole year.
Okay. That sounds slow in retrospect, but it's still not.
Slow in retrospect, but a lot of people who come to us are like, I need to get a deal. Like, how do I find my first deal?
Yep.
And they're like,
I've been looking for 10 years.
I've been looking, man. I don't see anything in the market. I'm like, it's been a month.
Yeah.
It took us a year to get one.
Yep.
But, just to kind of fast forward. So it's the stacking effect. Like, we got our first one and we did the BRRRR method. So we bought it cash, which was our entryway into private lending. We borrowed $50,000 from a close family member who trusted us. We funded the rehab, which was like $25,000. So we're all in for $75,000. Rented it out, went to the bank, got an appraisal, and it came back at a little over $100,000. So the bank says, all right, we'll give you 75% of that, which met everything that we owed, the $75,000 that we were in. We paid off our investor, we paid ourselves back, and we did a rental property with no money into it.
Boom.
That was
proof of concept, baby.
Proof of concept. From that point, I was like, wait, I don't even need this. Because at the time, I thought, I'm going to get this high-paying job, make as much money, save as much as I can, put it into a rental property 20% down.
Yep.
BRRRR method just changed my game. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even have any money left in this? So we can just rinse and repeat.
Yup.
So, first year was, we bought 1, the next year was 2, 4, 8. And then come like 2021, 2022, we had, like 10 projects going on at a time.
Yep.
So we got to around in the 40 range of rentals. And that's where I kind of landed with, all right, well, I'm pretty close here to just being able to cut the cord.
Mm-hmm. To that number of, I'm able to replace what I do in my job with cash flow.
Yep. I can at least, I have enough of a foundation to be able to take the leap. Now looking back, I wish I jumped in way earlier, but of course, hindsight's 20/20.
Of course.
So we stockpiled BRRRRs all along the way. We'd use private money to raise them, to fund them. So that's kind of how we built this collection, I guess I say, our investor base was our own projects.
Yep.
So they would fund our own projects, which a little less risky to most people because, they know us well. We have a track record. We do it. It's cookie cutter. We're in Coatesville, so the numbers are the same pretty much every time.
Yep.
And we just rinsed and repeated. So that helped us build up our track record for our investors. And that's why we had so much money coming in because we kept having more and more projects. We'd ask for some referrals and we'd keep building up.
So you mentioned that the first one that you did, private loan from friends and family.
Yep.
As you started scaling up, was it kind of just like a network effect of friends and family and saying, hey, look, this is what we're doing? And
it was still just family and friends. But, you get to a point, you have, during some of our growth phases, we have 3 projects now that we have to close on in the next 45 days. Yeah, we have our 2 people, but they're tapped or they're not willing. So all right, who are we going to call? Who's next on the list? So yeah, it's kind of like a sales drill. Okay, now we got to expand our horizon. Who else do you think would be interested in it and spread the word? And, naturally you maybe get one out of every couple, but you plant the seed. It was always planting the seed. I don't care if I got to know. It was usually just, it's not a good time.
Where do you think you got the confidence to have those conversations? Because I know like most people, when they ask me about raising private money and everything, they are terrified of having that conversation of asking for money. And I kind of always reframe it for people that it's like, you're not asking for money. You're actually presenting an opportunity to somebody where they can make money. But where do you think that came from?
It was still terrifying. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was definitely terrifying because you're asking for a lot of money. It's not like you're asking someone for $5,000. If you need to fund a project, it's at least $100,000.
Yep.
So those were some tough conversations. I mean, to begin, we weren't trying to get the full piece funded from one person. So if we did get $50,000, that was a win.
Got it.
But it's the more times you do things, the more comfortable you get, and changing your perception of I'm giving these people an opportunity.
That's right.
It's backed by real estate, 100%. So there's collateral to it.
Yeah.
You make sure you draw up paperwork appropriately so they feel protected.
Yep.
And at that point, you've done it a few times, so your confidence should be high that you can do this. You know your market.
Right, you've gone through the project.
You're going to get in and out.
Yep.
And the moment you do the first one, I mean, getting someone to buy in for the first project is the hardest, right? Getting them in, because a lot of them don't have the experience. So what we realize is we can't just go to anybody for an investor. You have to go to someone who's either entrepreneurial or has real estate background that you're not having to educate everything.
Got it.
Because that's hard. I mean, a lot of people just know stocks and bonds.
Yeah.
So showing them this new vehicle, to them, it's like, so I can get 10% on my money and not do anything, and it's secured by real estate. Like, I feel like something's missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in reality, it's just educating them, but education takes a while.
It takes a lot of time.
So some of those people that you had to educate, it takes a year, 2 years, and then finally it's, okay, they've seen us on social media, churning out projects. They've talked to maybe some of our investors, our referrals.
Yep.
And then they feel comfortable. And I mean, I still have some nerve-wracking conversations today because that's the goal now. Is we're at a point where we have so much demand for our product, both for our own projects and others that we fund.
Yep.
And we just know we have such a great product out there that's going to be able to give people an alternative. I mean, if you look what's happening, there's instability everywhere.
Yep. What
we offer in our fund is just consistent monthly interest payments on your money, like a CD, all backed by real estate.
Dude, I love
that.
So
there's a little bit more safety because there's a hard asset there. It's not just you're putting it in the slot machine and you're hoping that you're the lucky 49%.
Yep.
The house isn't against you. So that's kind of been the light bulb of changing the perception of we're giving an opportunity. We're not just giving, financial advice or anything. We're giving you an opportunity to be able to earn good, stable returns through something that that you can see. And
Absolutely.
That's tangible.
I love that, man. And, another thing that people often come to me when they're asking about raising private capital for the first time and everything is like, dude, a lot of times they just don't even have experience as an operator yet. And they're like, oh, well, I'm trying to raise money so I can do my first project or my second project or whatever. It's like, I really believe that even if you can, you shouldn't, which, it kind of works out like just because the world works this way that it's like, well, if you don't have the experience, you're probably not going to instill enough confidence in somebody for them to lend you money. Yep. But legit, you shouldn't. You should basically go out and kind of risk everything on your own first, right? Like if you have the ability, like put your ass on the line, put your money on the line,
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I didn't even know hard money what it really was. I just pictured it in my head as a loan shark. They're trying to fleece me for the property. So at that time I was like, I don't even feel comfortable going to them. Like I know we have $25,000 we could put in. I think I have someone in my network who's open to the idea of it, is willing to take a chance. Let's give it a shot.
Yep.
But you're right. For someone who has no experience, you're better off going that route, learning from it before you bring someone else. Because people have worked so hard for their money. The last thing you want to do, and you're being a custodian, right?
Yep.
The last thing you want to do is put that money at risk.
Yep.
And you should not be doing that until you feel educated and knowledgeable enough that you're going to be able to deliver on your word. Otherwise, do not touch it.
Fully agree. Dude, it's funny. I'm like so on the opposite end of that now that it's like, I almost think it's a bad thing for me to use my money on a project because I don't respect my money and my capital like I respect others. So the last project, I did still have a mortgage on it, but it was a really low mortgage. Appraisal came in weird, whatever. So I ended up putting 200 grand out of pocket on this and had a small mortgage. Dude, I let it sit for like 14 months and didn't do anything because I didn't feel the pressure of, well, I have investors to answer to.
Yeah.
I don't have like a heavy monthly payment I got to make or anything. It's like, so it kind of just sat there. And that was the first time that I realized it's like, yeah, dude, I absolutely respect other people's money more than mine. And I'm kind of like wired that way that I like feeling external pressure on things.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like that constant motivator of gotta go, gotta get shit done.
Yeah, it's accountability, right? You're putting extra accountability on yourself because you have someone else involved.
Yep.
I mean, it's the same thing with working out. It's the same thing with everything for me. The more I know people, the more times I commit to someone about something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to deliver on it because my word's everything.
I love that, dude. I love that.
So,
All
yeah.
right, so go back to the point where you said you were getting ready to leave your job.
Yeah.
That's huge, man. That's pivotal.
You know, I always knew, like from the day I went into Citibank, I knew long term, I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to try and soak up as much knowledge, soak up as much cash. But I kind of got distracted. And I got distracted because I'm so competitive. I got too good at my job. I was getting good. I was getting promoted. I was getting into the front office. I was getting in really cool rooms to be able to do, you know, fun things there. And I kind of got a little blinded. And thank God for Alex, because he was the boots on the ground. He was doing a lot of the day-to-day, finding the properties, and I'd help him with some of the back-end things. So it's not like I wasn't having to run out every day, you know, for a tenant issue. I was still able to do my 9 to 5 and do it in full because I knew I had him
That's right.
handling it all. So it kind of took me to the point of, you know, COVID came along. I just taken a promotion at Citi where I was going to be part-time in New York. And honestly, COVID kind of wrecking the whole travel, you know, situation of working from home. It's kind of good that happened for me because I'm not sure I might have gotten trapped more so by the you're
golden handcuffs,
traveling,
right?
There are cool things as part of it once you get to a certain point. And I think that I did have some blinders on at a certain time. So COVID happens, I'm working from home. And the moment you eliminate relationships, traveling, and clients, you realize I have no fulfillment out of this. Like, yeah, I'm working my ass off all day long, 8 till 7 on Zooms all day. And it doesn't matter how hard I work. The only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get more work.
Right.
I might get compensated more.
Might make more
I'm just
money.
picking up other people's baggage because I'm good at what I do.
That's right.
And I have no control.
And
I
that
hated
feels
it.
like fulfillment as you're going through it because it feels like progress. And it's very easy to mistake progress for
Oh,
fulfillment.
yeah, you got seniors who are, you know, making a ton of money that you see and they're trusting you to do things. But I also realize I'm like, these guys that I'm working with that are at the top of the food chain, their life balance, their flexibility is non-existent.
Yeah.
I mean, I would not want to trade seats with them. They might be making a whole lot of money, but they're always on the clock. If they go out on vacation and their boss calls them,
Yeah.
they're getting off the beach, they're going to their off, they're going to the hotel room, and they're working for the next couple of hours. Like, there's no way around it. I realized, like, you didn't have any flexibility, you didn't have any control. And at the time that COVID happened, that year kind of finished up 2021. And 2022 is coming, and I'm realizing, like, this isn't it. I got to find a way. And Alex and I were starting to buy a lot of projects, so it kind of came front of mind, like, all right, let's get back on the bandwagon here. Let's focus, let's grow. And then I found out I was having twin boys. So that the
changes
moment
everything.
my wife threw that in front of me, my mind exploded. I'm like, how am I supposed to do all that? How am I supposed to be the dad? Which I've always wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be there for my kids all the time, like my parents were. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was at all my games. He had the flexibility to control when or where he was. I'm like, I need that. Like, I'm never going to have that option if I stay here.
Yep.
So that was the tough discussion with my wife, and thank God for her that she approved the move because she always knew the vision. It was, look, we have these 2 boys coming, 8-9 months from now. I need to build up some more of the portfolio. And I'm cutting the cord. I'm out.
Dude, I just got goosebumps thinking about that because hearing the way that you describe that and you light up about it and everything, you realize that 99.9% of people facing that same predicament would have said, this is the reason that I need to choose stability. This is why I have to put my dreams on the back burner, because I'm going to be responsible for a whole family now. Yeah. And I need that stability for my family.
Oh, I got some crazy comments from,
I'm sure
from
you
some
did,
family
man.
members. You're doing what? You're having your first kids, and
that
you're
makes
going
it
to
even
quit
harder.
your job?
Getting that feedback loop.
Man. Yep.
But you powered through it, dude.
Powered through it. She bought into the vision. And I mean, at the time I had a good foundation, right? We had, by the time I quit, they actually kept me on. I was going on paternity leave in September of 2022.
Okay.
Yep, it was 2022. And I was like, look, I'm not coming back after. And my boss and I, we had a great relationship. He was trying to like convince me, like, what's it going to take to keep you to stay? Throwing money. I mean, I'm like, I need to, like, I already committed. I'm all in. Once I commit, that's it. There's no going back. So they I don't want to say they twisted my arm to stay through the end of the year. They're like, look, finish the year out. You'll get your bonus. You get to finish your benefits. And then in January, you can leave and do whatever you got to do from that point. So I did stay on a little bit, but it was very clear, like, I'm here to help when people need me, but I am not here.
Yep.
So I had the flexibility to do that, finish the year. And then I think it was, the day before Valentine's Day, or Valentine's Day was my last official day.
Okay.
And I remember that first week, I'm like, all right, let's do this. We're going to buy some apartment buildings. What are we doing? What's next?
Baby,
What's
let's
next?
go.
And then we had like 8 deals at the time. And next thing you know, I was like, all right, we're finishing them up and we're not really buying as many. And that was where we kind of fell into the reality of, well, shoot, I think we have something good here with the private money. And as I started networking, that was a big thing for me. The moment I went full time, I finally had the flexibility to go to the meetups,
to talk to people,
to meet people, to go, meet people for coffee, build true relationships with people in the game.
Yep.
And I just started to find a pattern of, wait, you don't raise private money for your project? You use a hard money lender? What are they lending at? And the moment they started telling me what they were paying, I'm like, dude, we have our private money so much cheaper than that. I feel like there's got to be something here. So that kind of gave us, gave us enlightenment to the fact that there is demand for a product if we offer the right one. If we can offer things that are important to an investor, right? Like, you're going to need cash management is disaster.
Yep.
If you can help solve cash management issue for someone who's doing 4 or 5 flips, you're going to have plenty of people to lend to, and it's just take your pick of the deal.
Yep.
And then that was kind of the next chapter. So really my start of entrepreneurship in my mind wasn't in 2015 when we bought our first rental. That was me as a real estate investor.
Yeah.
When I quit and we started the lending business was my start as an entrepreneur. And that, I love it, dude. I mean, I played sports growing up, soccer in college, love soccer. I feel like the business aspect has filled that void. You have the competitive spirit, you have the team spirit. And it's not just team, like people on SPG Capital's team or our property manager. It's the people we lend to. It's my investors. It's all this just organic network of people that we all are buying in and adding value to each other. And that's what keeps things just moving and grooving.
Dude, I love that. That's so cool. And like to the point about network and everything, it's so funny, right? Because like people that aren't entrepreneurial at all, like they look at my life and they think that all I do is hang around and talk to cool business owners all day. I go to coffees, I do podcasts, and I go to meetups. That's basically all I do. And truth is, they're not far from being wrong.
You sound like my wife right now. You're right. There's another event this week at nighttime?
Yeah, right? It's like, we just hang around and talk to people. But that's the thing, is like the power of networking and connecting with other people. Yeah. And not just like from the ability of, oh, well, I found you, I met you, and I can lend money to you because that's my product and that's what I do. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's a really fulfilling thing to watch other people around you all succeeding, and having something unique to be able to bring to your group of peers and friends and other investors is really cool.
Yeah, and
dude.
being an entrepreneur can be lonely too, right?
Dude,
so
100%.
Like, you think of it as like a scarcity mindset, like, oh, I'm not going to talk to, if I'm a wholesaler, I'm not going to talk to another wholesaler. If I'm a lender, I'm not going to talk to another lender.
Yep.
But that's where you have so much in common with that person, and there's so much out there you're not competing. It's all right. Well, maybe there is someone that falls into their circle that they can't help.
Yep.
Well, who are they going to think about next?
Yep.
Right? Who's someone that they can trust to refer out, and vice versa. We end up entrepreneurs. What I realized, we're all just connectors.
That's it.
Right? We're connectors to a problem and a solution, and we're I guess, for a lack of better words, we're addicted to it. We're
Absolutely,
addicted to connecting.
Some of us crazy
In a
ones
good
are,
way.
you know?
Yes. So like, I love hearing other business problems because I've been through a vastly different background than other people. I might have something I could share. And same thing with them, right? Some people who are more construction based, I have so much I can learn from them.
Yeah.
Wholesalers with marketing.
Yep.
Like we're trying to get into marketing. It's a whole nother world to me. A 10-minute conversation with you is going to trajectory me 20 times quicker than if I go on Google ChatGPT trying to figure it out.
100%.
So like
dude.
being able to bounce off ideas with other entrepreneurs is just going to get you so much quicker.
Dude, I love that. I love that. All right, so take me back. You come to this conclusion. We have capital that we need to deploy. We don't have a project. What was the first property or project that you lended out to someone else?
Yep. So that it was kind of funny because we kind of threw it out there to a few people that we were close with. And we just, kind of threw out the idea like, hey, what are you doing for lending? We have some money available and we're trying to figure it out as we go. Like we're trying to figure out all the paperwork and the logistics of it. And we had it was actually a partnership, two ladies, not to get too specific, but they had a property coming up. It was a fix and flip. And
Okay.
we kind of, Alex loves underwriting. So it was more so a matter of, all right, let's make sure the deal looks good. All right, make sure they agree to the terms. And then it was, all right, well, now we need to find an attorney to actually draft all these loan documents. Where are we going to go? So, thanks to networking again, though, we found who I think is the best loan attorney in the area is our guy, Bill Dolan. He's out of Delaware.
Okay.
But he specializes in private lending. So we called our attorney. They didn't know what the heck they were doing. They took us through hours and hours of trying to figure it out. They're like, is this even
billable hours,
is this
you mean?
even, to the question of, is this even legal? I'm like, all right, we're not with the right spot. So just calling on the network to find, so we got an attorney, they got all the stuff handled, and he's brought so much information to us. Like he's been through so much. He reviews title, he reviews everything, he educates us. So that was kind of our first one was, all right, I think it was like 150 grand all in. They had some skin in the game. It was a fix and flip. So there was a purchase and a rehab component of it. Very safe deal. So we're like, all right, we'll give this a shot. And it's like a pilot run in my eyes. It was like, all right, we got one investor who's willing to do it. So we'll sit in the middle of it. So at the time it was, our investors didn't want to go direct with these other people. It was like, no, you're sitting in the middle. Like you're on the hook.
They want to be an investor. They want to be an investor.
Yeah, you're on the hook. I don't want to be on any documents. You guys handle that and you owe me. So that's kind of how we did it. And, after the first one went successful, you don't really find out it's successful till the property sells at the back end.
That's right.
So, 5 months later, property sells, they pay us back with all the interest and everything. It was like, well, that was pretty easy. We didn't have to do anything really. Like we handled the upfront paperwork, we did the underwriting, we managed the borrower.
You said, you connected the dots.
We managed the borrower, but like we weren't the ones swinging the hammers. We weren't the one chasing around trying to get permits. It's pretty hands off. Like, maybe we should try a couple more of these. So then it was like, all right, let's do like 3 at a time. And the hardest part was convincing our investors to trust us.
Because it's not trusting just you anymore.
Exactly. Now it's our word and our management of this other person. So that's why we always had the phrase that we're not going to lend on a deal we wouldn't want to take over ourselves. So that's why we're very specific with who we lend to and the areas. Only Delaware, PA, and Jersey. We're not going to touch anything else because out of our network, if something went wrong, we don't really have the tools to handle, do what we have to do.
Yep.
So we did a handful more, and then it just started becoming all logistics. It's, all right, now you're sending paperwork back and forth with investors, and that was kind of causing issues with them because like, I don't even want to continue doing this paperwork. Every 4 months, you're making me sign new documents, sending me money.
It's
back and forth.
friction.
Like, can you just keep it and just, recycle it? And I was like, well, technically, legally, we can't just keep your money. So how are we going to do this in a proper way and actually pull some money together? So, we got in touch with a few people in our network who had funds set up. We talked to securities attorneys and we realized like, all right, the best way to go is to set up a private fund, register with the SEC and do it the proper way. The moment you pull money together, it's a security. No matter what way you look at it, the moment you're pulling other people in, it's a security. So let's treat it as such. Let's treat it like a business. So that's where it really became all right, we did a pilot run, a few deals went well, and we still weren't doing as many deals of our own. We had a handful, but we had way excess cash of what we needed. So it was, all right, well, why don't we just give this a shot and see what happens? Get our 5 or 6 trusted investors in, let them buy into the
Is that
model.
about what you had at the time, 5 or 6 different investors? And how much capital was it that you kind of had allocated when you first started lending to others?
It was like $1.5 million is where we were at. So that was kind of what we had built up from our own deals. They didn't give it all to us at that point.
Right. Yep.
It was,
understood.
well,
It's kind of like,
a different
I
vehicle
have
now.
it, you know? And
exactly. We know it's there, but if you're doing other people's projects. So then that was the start of the fund. So we set up a private fund, a 506C and a 506B, which is just legal jargon, but that allows us to market and solicit our fund so that other investors can figure it out, can find out about it, learn about it, and potentially invest. So now we're open to the public. You have to have some qualifications financially. You have to be an accredited investor, which means you have to make, I think it's $200,000 a year for the past 2 years.
$1 million in net worth.
Or be worth $1 million in net worth, exactly. So I can't say that really limits a whole lot of people, but there is a certain boundary of who can invest with us. But majority of the people who want a product like ours, and really what we hit on is you have a investment that's backed 100% by real estate because all the money is pooled together. And instead of you maybe just lending on one property, each dollar you have is spread across all the deals we fund. So there's more collateral to spread across all of our deals. So if we have 50 deals at a time and one goes slightly south or starts to default, you got the 49 other ones paying every month, and your returns looking pretty good for that month. So the way we offer it is we offer our investors 10% annualized return paid out monthly for a 2-year commitment. So the way I like to phrase it is it's a CD, right? You go to a bank, you get it, put your money in a bank with a CD of 4%, you lock it in for 12, 18, 24 months. Same philosophy. So our thought was, let's keep it very simple. No waterfalls, no crazy stuff. You're the first one to get paid. So whatever, when we're doing our loans, we're collecting from our borrowers on the 1st.
Yep.
And then on the 15th, we're paying out our investors their rate of return, whether the 10% if they're locked in for 2 years or 9% if they're locked in for 1. So it's just clockwork, man. Every 15th, our investors get their statement. They get their direct deposit if they want to, or they can reinvest. And they'll get a notification a couple days before letting them know, hey, your payment's on the way.
Dude, that's awesome.
So hands-off. It is, in my opinion, the only passive way to make money. Unless you're in a
100%.
syndication or something like that. This is truly the only passive ways to be a lender.
To essentially be the bank, right? To be the one lending the money. And, better than that even is like being the bank would also kind of mean being the facilitator of the loans. You guys are taking off of the investor as well. So it's
all of it. I mean, a lot of people, especially people with real estate background who've done some private lending, right? Maybe they have one person they lend to often and they'll charge some points to, and they've gotten used to it. Well, what happens if that investor, gets into a different field or decide they want to use a different lender? What are you going to do with that money now?
Yeah.
So, our selling point is we have so many borrowers who have demand for our product. We have too many deals. We have too many deals to fund that. Unfortunately, we can't even market for more borrowers, more real estate investors to fund, because I'm worried that if they come to me, I'm not going to have the money because we already have, a set of 10 to 15 borrowers that are just VIPs, right? They're rock stars. They crush it. They're in and out of deals in 5 months. To us, it's very low risk. So we're going to keep them filled, right? And fuel up their deals as much as possible. So we can't even market for other people because we don't have enough money. So we're at around $5 million now in the fund.
Okay.
So we have pretty much every dollar is on the streets in deals. So like the moment a deal gets paid back to us, we already have deals lined up ready to roll.
I love
which is a great problem to have. But
it is.
There's a lot of other people who've done private lending who are on the other side. It's where do you find deals?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, you got to remember, I'm full-time in this. I'm in the real estate investor network.
Yep.
I'm going to hear about a deal light years before you do.
Of course.
And I'm even looking at some of the deals by myself.
Exactly. And that's my point. It's like, you come from a background of being in it, right? It's like you kind of understand the needs, wants, and desires, and some of the cash flow stuff of investors and everything, right? It's like, and you're solving that through what you offer, right? So talk a little bit about that. Like what your typical loan products that you're doing for like a fix and flipper or even a BRRRR guy that is still probably buying and rehabbing.
Yeah, I'd say we're probably 50-50. A lot of fix to flip for rentals, and the other half I would say is fix and flip to sell. So probably 50-50 ratio.
Okay.
But we are 12% on the money. So if you have the money out for 12 months, you're paying 1% every month.
Yep.
That's how you look at it, right? So 12%, pretty standard in the field. 3% origination fee, so 3% to get the loan up front.
Yep.
I like to look at that as like a security deposit. If something goes wrong, you're paying that fee up front to us. And if something goes wrong, we got money stockpiled to kind of handle the situation. Hasn't happened yet, knock on wood.
I get it.
But
Well, the reality is, it will be an issue
will.
at one point, and it's like you're okay, you're ready for that.
in time it'll happen, yep.
Yep.
But what sets us apart is we'll do 75% loan of the ARV, the after repair value. So
Got it.
like just an example. So if you're buying something for 100 and you're putting 50 into it, that property, you're all in for 150. We would look for that property to be around like 222 to 225 ARV. If you have that good of a spread, the deal is usually pretty good for us.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in our area that we like and we underwrite it and we confirm, that 200, 225 is good, we'll fund 100% of the project.
Love it.
Not on your first one, but for someone who's got experience, who has a track record, to us, it's like, we can do that. I mean,
Right.
we'll hold,
When you're betting on the jockey.
Exactly.
Right? Because the jockey has experience.
But what we do is we make it a 6-month loan.
Okay.
So the reason we do that is because, kind of what you said earlier, right? When you have some of your own money in the game and, you can kind of take your time on the project. When you got that timeline on you, it kind of pushes up the priority list because now
does.
it's like, all right, man, like you got 6 months, you can always extend. So it's not like we're knocking on the door like, hey, we want to take the property. We don't want that. But what we want is you to prioritize us because we
want to turn the money.
You.
Yeah.
Exactly. We want to make sure that the projects are moving. And you're asking us for escrow funds for your rehab as you kind of go along, so we can kind of see, he's moving and moving and moving.
Yep.
And then rinse and repeat. And that's why we're able to continue to do a lot of repeat business because the money's coming back a lot, so we can just give it right back to you. Right? You get another project, reload.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we've differentiated ourselves in terms of the terms, because if you go to someone who's private equity backed or one of these larger hard money lenders, they're going to make you, maybe 60, 65% LTV. So they're not going to give you as much. They're definitely not going to do 100% financing.
Right.
I mean, there's good reason for that, but you got to remember those guys have so much money sitting that it's burning a hole in their pocket. They have to get rid of it.
Yep.
So they're willing to market out to someone who's never done a deal and, just to get the money moving.
Yep.
Whereas we're on the flip side, it's like, well, if we give slightly better terms, we're going to get much better than slightly better borrower. We're going to get the best borrowers.
Yep.
Which ultimately makes our collateral much better because they're better deals.
Yep.
And we know that they're going to get done right. There's
life
I
so
don't
much
have
easier
to
for you.
I don't have to babysit anybody.
Yep.
And that's what we want. That's how it gets
It's
to
a
become
beautiful
a
thing,
passive
man.
thing for everybody. So it's been a lot of fun. I would say that we kind of fell into it, but I am loving it because I think about wholesalers, right? You deal with a lot of distress.
A lot of crap. Yeah.
I get to deal with so much positivity. It's a completely different world. It is though. Like think
I'm
about
gonna
it.
go cry.
Well, because look, when I went full time and we didn't have enough deals, I was like, I'm gonna start hitting the phones, man. I'm gonna start doing some direct mail. I'm gonna do all these things. All it was a couple people sending me a letter back, pretty much telling me to F off.
Yep,
Or someone
yep.
call me saying,
Did they do
just
that?
ripping me.
Did they do
Oh,
that?
they did it. And I'm not built for it. I'm
Death
like,
threats.
all right, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't need to find my own deals. We've got most of our deals from other connections, wholesalers, agents. So I'm going to do relationship marketing. I'm not going
love
to do my own deal marketing.
Yep.
But I get to work with investors who are looking for alternatives, who are usually nearing retirement and looking for a way to replace their income, right? So they're going to say, Josh, I'm going to have Social Security. I have my retirement account, but it's in a lot of stocks. Like I need dividends. I need things that pay me monthly.
Yeah.
And what better thing to pay you monthly than what we offer, which is a real estate backed fund that produces income every month.
Fully agree.
So
dude.
when people get to a certain stage, it's, they see our product, it's like, well, that actually makes a lot of sense because now I can
Yeah.
expect, if things go right, of course, I can expect a set rate of return every month and I can spend that money. That'll be my vacation money every month when I retire. So there's certain people that kind of fit the build for it. So we have a lot of fun with those conversations. And then the other side is being able to, help real estate investors grow.
Yeah, man.
Right? Because you're able to do a few more projects than you probably otherwise couldn't do, which then is ultimately getting more supply on the street for homeowners because there's no supply out there.
Case study, man, right here.
It just fuels the whole economy the more you can produce. And then I love the transformation. I mean, you guys do great work. You're
Thank you.
fast. The selections are great. And being able to see the transformations, how Some of these houses are terrible.
Yup.
Like people who aren't in the real estate game, they see that and they're just like, no way. That's costing $200,000 to fix that.
Yep.
And in reality, it's like, it's probably like $50,000 in total.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
But it's experience and just being able to see both sides of that and, producing so much good for the community. It's awesome. I love it.
That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about the capital raising side of the business now from the spot of where you're at today. Like,
yeah.
So you talked a little bit about like kind of exploring marketing, right?
Yep.
And kind of reaching out to more people. The fund exists, everything's there, everything is legally the way that it needs to be. So what does the next 2 years of capital raise, 2 questions. How much capital are you looking to raise in the next 2 years, and how do you think you go about doing that?
So we're at $5 million now. The goal is to get to 10 by the end of the year, which I don't think is that far-fetched. I think our 3-year goal is like 20 million.
Okay.
20 million in capital raise. Now it's a balancing act, right? So
Dude, it really is.
You don't want to raise too much money and not have enough deals. So you kind of have to keep a pulse on how things are going. But the good news is money doesn't come in too fast, right? Usually there's a sales cycle that's gaining trust, people believing, maybe they'll start with 100 and then maybe after 6 months, they see it works. They'll continue to grow and grow.
Yep.
But up till December of this year, we were in a 506B, which meant we could only raise money from family, friends, and referrals.
Got it.
So we were a little handcuffed with being able to spread the word, which really stunk because we realized we're like, dude, we have something great that everybody could benefit from at a point in their life. So what we did was we decided to make the switch. We're like, all right, we're going to open up another fund, 506C, which will legally allow us to solicit and spread the word about our investment offering. So that's why it's been the start of a new journey in January of, well, how are we going to market? Because we never did any marketing for our own real estate portfolio.
Yep.
I mean, really minimal. And, social media is such a tool, but I never used it. I was one of those guys that was kind of anti-social media.
I get it.
But mentally, you're doing yourself a disservice because if you have a good message to promote, you're hurting yourself and potentially other people by not spreading it, by not sharing it. And then ultimately, no one wins. So why not? Yeah, maybe to certain people it's annoying. But you know what? Maybe it hits that person at the right time in the right place as they see the stock market dropping and they're having panic attacks, seeing something that could give them an alternative.
Yep.
Maybe that's just what they need to get on a different path. So marketing wise, we're kind of starting fresh. We're doing some email marketing to our investor database, trying to figure out a way to get more referrals from the people that I think we've been great custodians for to date that really trust us. And hopefully they're at a point where they trust us enough to spread the word, right? Because when it comes to money, like these are people's life savings. They've worked so hard for it.
Yep.
It's not just like a referral for a siding guy down the street that did a job for them.
Yep.
Oh no, they need to know everything about you. They need to truly believe in you before they say, I'll bring my friend into it or my brother or my sister into it.
It's going to bring
because I truly believe in it.
$500,000, $1 million.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So the trust factor is huge when it comes to money. So it does take time.
Yep.
But I think the why I don't know if I really want to cast a wider net. I want to cast a more direct net in terms of here's what we have.
Yep.
And hit to certain people that we think that could benefit. Business owners who are maybe getting close to selling off a business that might be coming into some cash and want to diversify and get it. Real estate investors themselves, maybe you're getting to the point you have a huge portfolio, but you want to sell them off. What am I going to do with the money?
Yep.
Real estate. Maybe you don't want to do all the lending yourself because you do want it to be passive. So there's an option.
Yep.
IRAs is a huge one. So a lot of people don't know that when you leave an employer, you have a 401k. When you leave, you can actually move that retirement account into what's called a self-directed IRA. Legally, it's the same. It's an IRA. There's nothing different about it. The only difference is when you move it to a certain custodian, you can direct, self-directed, you can direct where that investment goes. So instead of just being stuck into the 10 mutual funds, your 401k allows you to put
select between.
You're able to actually put it into, you can put it in crypto, you can put it into real estate specifically, you can put it into a fund like ours. Like you have so many more options to do it with your retirement. And most people's savings are in their retirement.
Yeah, man.
And no one knows about it. I didn't know about it until I got into real estate because it's a little more common there. So spreading the word about that, because there's so many people out there who have old retirement accounts sitting with their old employer that are just collecting dust.
Yep.
and they've wanted to get into real estate. It's, it's a kind of a fad, right? Everyone's homes have gone up in value. They see, oh man, you can make so much money. I want to get involved.
Yep.
But they don't have the time.
Exactly.
I know you don't have the time. Well, I have something to offer that you don't even need to put in your time.
Yep.
And you can still be part of really cool projects. We spread the word on social media. So there's a way to still get involved passively without having to swing the hammers, without having to deal with the tenants, and trying to spread the word on the different ways you can actually invest versus just, oh, I don't have $100,000 in my bank account. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you might have a retirement account laying around that isn't doing anything. You can use that to get involved. So there's a few different, pain points that we're looking for specific people who have those certain things. So just trying to spread the word organically, social media, podcasts like this, and just trying to spread it, man, to as many people as possible. And then hopefully the people that we want come in. That's another thing, right? We are entrepreneurs. We want to work with the people we want to work with.
Yeah, dude. And it's a blessing that you have the ability to do that, because not everybody does, but it's like, it's kind of a self-fulfilling cycle when you do good work, you have a good product, you have good people around you and everything. It's like you typically attract more like-minded people that share similar values, similar beliefs and everything. So it kind of just starts building and stacking upon itself. But that would never happen if you didn't already have a good offering, a good fulfillment of what you're doing and everything. And that's the foundation, right?
It is the foundation. So yeah, so that's the goal right now. And I actually want to pick your brain on marketing because it's a whole nother world.
Dude, it is.
When I was on the corporate world, everyone's so siloed. You have specific things that you do, and collectively that becomes an engine that produces and gets the car moving. But when you're an entrepreneur, man, you have all these different hats. You're an accountant.
So many
You're
hats.
a marketer. You got to know taxes. You have to know investing. You have to know leadership. Mm-hmm. There's so many different components to it that nothing trains you for until you get into
processes,
it. Oh my gosh, the softwares,
HR.
There's so much to it.
You wear all the hats.
Yep. So you have to know. I love Who Not How. It's a great book, but I still feel like as the leader of your organization, you have to have a good understanding of all of them.
Fully agree.
So that you can make sure the ship's going in the right direction.
Fully agree. A lot of people do kind of, evangelize, if you will, you don't need to know how to do everything. Just, plug someone into that seat that they're an expert. And that may work for some people, but for me personally, it's like, I don't need to know how to do everything, but I have to understand it fundamentally. Yes. And the way that I am and the way that I learn is usually by taking things apart, dissecting them. If we're talking about construction, that means taking a house apart, seeing what's what, right? Understanding how the wires run through the boxes and everything. And then it's like, I don't need to be an expert in it, but I need to know enough to where I feel competent in managing somebody that's going to do that thing for me. And I've translated that into software and everything that I've ever done. It's like, I like to have an understanding fundamentally of how things work.
Yeah. And one other benefit of doing that is you might not know that you like something until you get into it.
That's also true.
So you might fall into, the people who do the fix and flips, they have this thought, or there's someone who wants to do their first one. And then they get into it and they realize, I cannot deal with contractors. I cannot deal with GCs. I can't deal with the cash management stresses of it. So until you get into it, though, you're not going to know it.
No.
I mean, you can ask us as many questions as you want, but experience is going to teach you. And, ultimately you kind of have to try a few things, try a flip, try a rental, until you realize all right, maybe those two aren't the avenues I want to go into. Maybe I do want to do something different with real estate or something different overall.
Yep.
Like Alex and I think we have close to 65 units now in the portfolio.
Love it.
Which is great. We have a property manager who helps us, and it's great, but it's a pain in the what.
No,
I realized
it?
I'm like,
is it?
Initially, it was.
I thought everything's perfect with rentals. Cash flow, baby.
It's so passive.
Sit on the beach.
It's so passive. It's so passive. I'm like, no, it's not. Even with people in place, it's not passive.
No.
But it's I think of that as that was all a vehicle to get to a certain stage. So that did the job for me. It's great long-term wealth, right? It's great for taxes, and we're going to just keep that kind of brewing. But in the meantime, what do I like to do? And that's why, the whole lending thing fell right into, it was great timing for me because I found something that I truly enjoy. And that's more so money management. Like it's what drives me every day. I thoroughly enjoy it. I get to help so many people. And, I still have the real estate. I am still an addict for real estate. So we still do some projects. I enjoy it. We're doing a cool ground up deal right now.
Yeah, man.
But we have partners in place who are great at what they do and the things that I'm not. So we find ourselves kind of partnering on these deals where we're able to, maybe we find the deal and we have the money, And then we find a partner who does the rest of it that loves what that part of it. And then that's how you get these great synergies. And that's how you're able to do these joint ventures and partner with people. And it just makes everyone's doing exactly what they want to do. And, every day it's not work anymore.
Dude.
But you have to go through some tough ones to get to that.
Yeah, man, you have to kiss some toads along the way. And a lot of people are afraid to take action. And I don't know, man. Like I put a lot of stuff out there, right? To the point of social media, right? Like I share a lot of things. And for example, the other week, my daughter was making some sort of cookies or something. She was baking for like 3 hours. Dude, they ended up burnt and she was a wreck, man. She's crying and she's emotional and she's like, oh, this sucks. I suck. Everything's terrible. Yep. And I was like, Mia, you realize, like, I don't think there's even an exception to this. Everything that I do for the first time, I fuck it up. Like, I never get anything right the first time. And that's okay. Most people don't get something right the first time. And a lot of times when you do, it's like there was some luck in the equation, or maybe you had somebody to guide you through it or whatever. But, everybody sucks at something when they start. But you do it a little bit more and you suck a little bit less. And the next time, you're not going to do the same thing that you did with the timer or whatever to burn them. Do it again. Just do it again.
Yeah, it's so funny because when you're growing up, right, you want to, especially in school, it's all about being perfect, right? You want to get 100%. And if you don't get that, you're not good enough. It's not that, they're not teaching you that it is good to get calluses, right? And to fail and to learn from it and apply it and continue to grow and grow. Because that's what entrepreneurship is, honestly.
Yeah, man.
You have to break things to then make them better. And, it's the same thing. Like you have to set your expectations of, look, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to lean on all the resources I can, which I think some people are more so, they keep that close to chest when they get into problems. It's like,
which they
you have a resource you need to spread the work.
Because again, it's the same thing. It still kind of all boils down to ego. It's, I don't want to seem like I am flawed. I don't want anybody to know that I'm not invincible, you know? And it's like, dude, everybody makes mistakes, like it's okay. It's cool. Dude, Elon is like one of my like idols that I look up to. I think he's just a brilliant human being and everything. And just look at it from his perspective or point of view. Like obviously he looks at everything from a very deeply analytical engineering mindset and everything. And while everybody else is like, I'm afraid to build a rocket that's gonna go wrong and it's gonna blow up or whatever, he's like, no, I know that shit's gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up. That's fine. We're gonna learn a lot from it and we're not gonna mess up the same thing. And I'm going to learn more from that failure than you guys have in the last 20 years with all your R&D and engineering, and you make breakthroughs that way, man. I get it. It sucks. It's uncomfortable, right?
Well, he's just done a great job of stretching the reality, right? So things are going to break when you don't know how to do it. You don't know what that finished product is going to be, but you have a common theme of what it should do.
That's right.
All right. Well, what are the different ways we can get there? And you do some trial and error, man. But failure is a huge piece, especially in the kids, right? I got 2 young ones. Mm-hmm. They're getting to be 3 now. So anytime they can't finish the puzzle piece, I start to hear a whine. I'm like, but you got to instill that in them young. Like, it's okay to mess up. Keep trying. Keep doing it. Try it again. See what happens. And build their confidence. Because if confidence is so key. I remember
100%.
Man, it's kind of, think it back in the story. When you do these podcasts, it's great because you have to reflect. Or you have to reflect on your journey. And reflecting on mine, it's so interesting because my dad was an entrepreneur. And he owned a flooring company with my uncle. And they actually have a great business model. They're a connector between huge builders, commercial developers, and the manufacturers of like tile, hardwood, carpet. Okay. So they sit in the middle. They're just the facilitators. They have some subs that install it, and they just, they play the middleman between the two.
I love it.
And he always had the flexibility to like come to my soccer games at 3:00, middle school soccer games. So growing up, I saw that, and I saw a lot of parents weren't there. I'm like, man, this is just normal reality for me. Like, why aren't your parents there? Mm-hmm. And that kind of instilled for me long back. It took me a little while to figure out why that was.
You didn't connect the dots on it until later.
Of like why I'm doing this is so that I can be there for my kids when I'm older. I know that I need the time, freedom, and the vehicles to get me there to be able to do it. But my parents always pushed. I was always good in school, never got in trouble. My 2 older brothers did enough of the getting in trouble. So it was like, I'm not going to do what they're doing.
From them,
I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm just going to stay in my lane over here. But I was always told, go get a good job, go to school, get good grades, get a retirement account.
So did even your dad kind of push that to you?
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting thinking back on the story because I did do that and I was very successful. And then when I tailed off, and maybe temporarily it looked like, oh, what's he doing? But I think I'm going to be able to build something so much better than the legacy I could have created then. But it's just so interesting how I kind of looking back on it, just what you instill in your kids and what you say to them messaging wise kind of shapes where they go. So trying to keep an open book of, you really can be whatever you want. You're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
As long as you can kind of figure out what you like and do some trial and error, you're going to ultimately get to the end destination that you want to be. Maybe not when you're 20, maybe not when you're 30, maybe not even until you're 60.
Yeah, man.
But you got to keep pushing for it.
Fully agree.
And don't get complacent with it.
Fully agree. So that's interesting though. So like your dad was an entrepreneur, and still like he pushed you and your siblings the whole college route and go get a stable job. Like, did you ever have a conversation with him as to like what his logic behind that was?
No, I haven't. And you know what? I have two older brothers, and both of them actually ended up going into the business. So it was my dad and my uncle started the business. They're the same age, and as they grew into their older age, obviously they wanted to get out. So both of my brothers and two of my cousins went into it. So there's already 4 of them.
Okay.
So I kind of already saw the writing on the wall, like early on, like it's gonna have to do my own thing here. I'm gonna have to figure something out.
But did they go to college as well before they went into the business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
One of them went directly into it. He just knew like I want to get into this like now.
Okay.
And my other brother went into school and he's now their CFO. So I kind of saw early on. I'm like, all right, man, like I'm gonna have to do my own thing.
There's not going to be any seats left in the business by the time I get there.
The seats are all full at this point. I'm like, it's a great business, but I'll have to figure it out. But I think that's kind of what drove me because I had somewhat of a chip on my shoulder knowing like I'm going to have to do my own thing. Whether it be the corporate route, whatever it is, like I'm going to have to figure it out and, see where it goes. But I think that was a huge shift for me. Just knowing like it wasn't there. So as I think about that now, right, we have a good portfolio, ultimately down the road, going to hopefully build something big. And my kids are looking at that. And I've heard some comments lately, like, you're not rich, I'm rich. That whole persona of like, I heard something from Shaq talking about his kids. And he's like, all right, I tell my kids, like, you're not rich, buddy. Like, you're not successful. You're not the business. I am.
Yeah, man.
And then still in that, so they know, like, you're going to have to do your own thing. Like, I'm going to be there to coach you and help you along the way. But that's going to push them outside their boundaries to find something that they want to do and push the envelope like Elon does.
Yeah, fully agree, man. Dude, it's one of the things that I think about often is like I'm blessed to have a bunch of friends that are wealthy and they have kids as well, right? And I know that a lot of my buddies are like, I don't want my kids to ever really have to struggle. I don't want my kids to ever really have to work for anything. I want to be able to build legacy wealth so my family is set for life and everything. And I hear that. I understand that from, a father
for sure
at like an emotional level, right? We want to be able to provide and protect for our people. But on the other end of it, that most of the time when people, especially kids, don't get pushed, don't have to work for anything, and are just given everything. It's like, look at anybody in society. Look at, the welfare system, right? It's like, it doesn't breed a good message. It doesn't breed productive humans, first and foremost, and like the last thing that I want is any of my kids to later in their life, God forbid when I'm not around, like just be dependent and not be able to go out and hunt for themselves. I want them to be able to be self-sustaining. And unfortunately, the only way to get to that is to deal with some struggle and some hardship, not be fucking handed everything.
No. I mean, look, you can put up guardrails is how
That's
I say,
right.
right? You're bowling, put the rails up.
That's right.
Keep them on course, but knowing like you're going to have to fail to get there.
That's right.
And when I'm thinking about fatherhood, it's you're trying to raise your child to the point where when they get old enough and they're making their own decisions, they're making good decisions, right? That's the key. So whatever you have to do to get to that point, because it kind of flies by, right? By the time they're 14, 15, they're going to be doing whatever they want. They're going to be making their own choices at school to know what's right or wrong.
That's right.
And, that's kind of where fatherhood comes in is like, you have to instill that discipline of what's right, what's wrong, and working hard. And you're not always going to get what you want.
Yep.
But if you keep pushing and pushing, you'll get rewarded for it. and instill that in them young so that, you know, come the time, because we all see it, right? Down the road with the future generations,
we don't see it, man. I don't know, man. Seriously, I don't know. 10 years from now, what's the landscape going to look like? That's a whole other conversation and rabbit hole.
And stuff. But the people who have calluses and know to push through and use their imagination and aren't just glued to an iPad, they're going to have a huge upper hand.
Yep.
And just be able to dominate. And that's kind of where, thinking ahead wise, it's like, yeah, I mean, us, because we're young, right? Yep. So that's going to play into our favor. But as we grow the next generations, man, what are we growing them to be?
So if you think of values, what are, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 like core values that you hope that you're able to instill in your kids?
I think integrity is a big one, right? That's always been instilled in me, which is why I think I've been able to do some really cool things. It's because when you say you're going to do something, you need to do it.
I love that.
Like, that line for me is so important, because just like the sign, how you do one thing is how you do everything. The one that I was talking about in your office. Like, that just hits me so hard, because you're right. There's so many people, especially in the business world, they say they're going to do something.
Yep.
And then they don't do it.
Yep.
Think of lenders. When I say I'm going to fund a deal, I'm funding that deal no matter what. Yep. When I say I'm going to buy that project, I'm going to buy it. And that's what people will think of me. And that's the reputation I'm going to withhold and have. So when people think of Josh, they're like, oh, yeah, dude, he's never steered me wrong.
That's right.
He's never gone against his
Your word is everything.
Yep. So like that's my number one.
Integrity.
Yeah, I think creativity is a big one. I wasn't the most creative kid, which is why becoming an entrepreneur has kind of pushed me outside of it. Because I was super book smart, and I was athletic, so I got to play sports. But like, creativity wise, I was never into art, never into any of that stuff. I think that just opens your mind to a whole nother world that you're not going to see on your own.
Yeah.
So I think being creative is just a huge game changer as well. So those 2 things, I mean, obviously morally you want them to be a good person.
Of course.
So, you know, kindness, all those.
But integrity kind of covers some of that anyway.
It does, right? I don't want my kid being the one who, you know, is pushing kids to daycare. You know what I mean? Like, you stand up for others. You be the leader, right? Be the example in the room.
I love that.
So that's tough to do, though, as a dad, because that means you have to be the example. So when someone's calling you at 6 p.m. and it's a hot deal, but your kid's looking at you trying to play a game, it's like, all right, which way am I going here? Sometimes you got to make the tough decision.
Yeah,
and you have to perform by action.
Dude, fully agree. What does your wife think about everything that you're doing in business today?
Oh gosh, I'm so grateful for her, man. She makes my life so much easier. Like, having the kids is a challenge, and she still works. Like, she still works full time, but she's able to balance it. She got herself into a position where she has flexibility during the day, which is great. Like, she's worked her way to a point where she can go take the boys to daycare at 9 o'clock, and some days she can pick them up at 3. So like, that leaves me the freedom to continue to grow and grow and grow. Doesn't mean I don't hear man, you have another event this Thursday night? Yep. You're going to the cigar bar? I'm like, it's work. I'm telling you, it's work. But she's bought in. She sees the vision. She sees how much we're able to help people. So, man, I'm so grateful. You have to have a supportive spouse. There's no way to be a successful business owner without it, man. Dude, like, I can't imagine life without her. I really can't.
I love that, man.
And I'm so glad I met her in college. So I'm so glad I met her younger, because I think it steered me away from a lot of distractions. Like, when I got out of school,
good point.
I was working all day long, 9 to 5 after school, right, when I worked at Citibank. I'd come back, Alex and I would hop on Cody Sperber, wholesaling, webinars and stuff, just to learn, because we're like, all right, man, what books are we reading? What are we doing? We get on the phone and do it together. The things people don't hear about, right, when they hear about success. Yeah, doing that at 9 p.m. after you worked the whole day, worked out, coming back, doing that for an hour and a half, and going to sleep. It kept me out of a lot of the social things. So I wasn't going to Dewey Beach on the weekends and getting plastered. I was, you know, hanging out with her, reading books during the day while we were kind of lounging out. And I think that just kind of helped me stack educational-wise and experience-wise, traveling to properties when we were first looking out, traveling on the weekend. So it kept me out of a lot of things and kept me grounded of the vision of, look, I know long-term, I want to get married, I want to have kids. And like, seeing her every day was a daily reminder of why you're doing it.
Dude, I love that. So like, tell me what your thought is on what what you really believe it is that kind of fueled you to kind of go down this entrepreneurial path in the first place, right? So you mentioned like, okay, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of like a catalyst for you and everything. But what do you think it was that kind of like fueled you internally? Like, you know what I mean? To basically want more, to, what was it?
I think I'm so fortunate because I had my father there and flexible.
Okay.
It was instilled like that. This is a reality. This is possible.
It was
I think
freedom. It was chasing freedom.
It was always freedom. It was, I want the freedom and the control to be able to decide what I do with the day. If I wanted to go today and take my kids to a Phillies game, I want the ability to do so. And I know that there's not many vehicles where you can do that. You're either a business owner.
Even as a business owner, a lot of times that's still not.
You're either a business owner with the teams behind you to handle all the day-to-day and have trusted people in the seats, then you can do it. Or you have to be making a killing of passive income where you have enough kind of coming in. You have to be one of the two.
Yep.
That's it. There's no in between. And I think I always knew like I wanted that time freedom. I wanted to have more time with my kids, with my family, more time to travel. And it was always finding, well, what's it going to be? Now, I mean, getting through college, having fun, and then getting to the point of shit, it's a new world coming up, man. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Like, I don't want to get trapped. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad just hit me at the right time of, all right, dude, real estate. Problem was, I didn't know anybody in real estate. Nobody. And even if my dad in my flooring business those were all builders. I'm not going to go talk to a builder.
Right.
I'm not going to go talk to those guys.
Yeah, man.
So it was, all right, well, how are we going to do this? Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of opened the book and it was, all right, let's get very specific what we want to do. Let's just buy a rental. That's the first goal. Just buy a rental and see where we go.
I love it, man. So how do you think your mindset kind of shifted or changed when you found out that you were having twins, and not even just one child,
Man,
right? Like
it shook me. I remember my wife told me we were actually on a trip in New York for our little like getaway weekend. And I knew she was pregnant, but I hadn't seen the ultrasound of two circles on there. So
crazy.
She just pulled it out at lunchtime. I was like, why are you being weird? We're like on a rooftop having a great time. She just whips it out, throws it on the table. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know what I'm looking at.
There's two. What does that mean exactly? What does that mean? She's like, they're twins. I couldn't sleep that entire night, Drew. I was on my phone Googling, like, what does it mean to have twins? And of course, anytime you Google anything, it's like when you're sick and you Google and WebMD pops up, it's like the worst thing ever.
It's not good. You shouldn't even look,
Mentally, it messed with me bad because I just knew the path I was on right then. I was already working around the clock. I didn't have any flexibility. And I saw my future, and I saw my future from the bosses I had there. I saw what their future looked like. And the more I started reflecting on it, I was like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way I'm going to let that be me. So one of my regrets is not doing it earlier, but I kind of got distracted, and that happens in life, but sometimes you need life to kick you in the ass.
Dude, and
to get you moving.
That's why I asked that. That's why it matters so much to me. Like to my friends that I've seen achieve some level of success that don't have kids, I'm like, dude, I commend you. Because like a lot of people think, well, it's easier when you don't have kids to do whatever and be successful because you have the time. You can do whatever. You can work 24 hours a day. You don't have like any other real responsibilities, Yep. Dude, I was on the other end of the spectrum. I started because I got my girlfriend pregnant at 20 years old, right? It's like, oh man, that really kicked me in the ass. And it's like, I have to go out and figure out how to make things work because I do want my family to be provided for. I want everybody to be safe and good. Yep. And to me, it's like that made it easier because there was never the option of, I'm just going to take a week off. I'm going to kind of kick back and chill because I only got to worry about me and I got money in the bank. I'm good. It's like, no, man, it was constantly like,
well, that's what pushes you.
I know. And that's what I'm saying. It was a blessing to me. Like,
it's funny because I know, anyone I know who doesn't have kids, I'm like, enjoy it. You should be pushing it harder now. But at the same time, it's like when you have that much time, well, yeah, why not just go golf for 4 hours? You already got your work done. It's easier to chill. It's so much easier when you don't have the discipline of knowing, like, look, I have between 9 and 4 when my kids get home. I need to cram everything into that. I need to make sure every minute is accounted for, and then I'm moving things forward so that when 4 o'clock comes, all right, I can relax, I can play with my kids, I can be present. But just having that time window, it's like, all right, man, dial in.
Yep.
How are we going to be more efficient? Because when you don't have kids and you got more time in your hands, maybe go out lunch, maybe I'll have a couple beers, take the afternoon off. You gotta kick it in the gear, man. So kids do a great job of putting feet to fire on that.
Fully agree, man. A couple last questions here for you.
Yeah.
If a newer investor came to you today and they were kind of looking for advice as to how to start building a rental portfolio, or even how to start like a fix and flip business, what kind of advice would you give them, kind of based on the market and all the other factors that play into that, and knowing your experience and journey?
What I would say is the most important part is getting around people who are doing it. Going to the meetup event. I know it's awkward. I know maybe you meet one or two people, but until you go there and you experience what's real and get around a circle of people who are doing things, it's easier said than done. But like, we both want to help people.
Yep.
But we only have so much time.
Yep.
So what we want to see is someone actually taking the initiative. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, you want to get into real estate investing?" I'll tell them, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, read this book, come back to me if you have any questions, start looking at some deals. If I see a little bit of traction, I'm happy to help people. 100%. I think people get scared of asking, or they ask the wrong way. There's two different sides. They get scared of asking. I'm like, look, I'm a resource, man. People helped me along the way. People helped Alex and I get started.
Yep.
There's no way you can get to the point you want to be without mentors or people guiding you. So don't be afraid to go to the meetups, meet people, try to weasel your way into a lunch or breakfast, or pay. Yeah. If you have $5,000, put $1,000 into joining a mastermind. Put $1,000 into getting into that room, because the amount of experience and getting in the room is what will have us remember you. If you just shoot me a text or a DM, like, I don't know you.
Yep.
Until you get face to face and we build a connection and a true relationship, then I will know you, and then I'll be on the lookout for specific things. Like, you have to get yourself into the network, express what you're trying to do, and things will slowly start to come your way. And then you can utilize us for resources. Like, if I were to go back, like, it's so much simpler when you have other people around you. Dude, if you try to do it all yourself, 100%. You're doomed, or it's going to take you forever. Like, if I didn't have Alex and I tried to build that real estate portfolio myself, I'd probably have 6 units right now, because I just wouldn't have had the time. I wouldn't have been able to go chase down that property when there's, a showing tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Wouldn't have been able to make it there. It just wouldn't have happened fast enough. So maybe look to partner. Try to find ways to add value. Maybe you have the time or construction background. Like, you got to figure out what your thing is.
I love that.
And get around other people, figure out what they need, because that's all we talk about, right? We talk about our business, family, pain points, good things that are going on, and just absorb it and see where you can help. And I'm telling you, it's going to come back tenfold. Dude, one of my favorite books is The Go-Giver. And it's all about that, being more giving and not worrying about getting anything back, being genuine and authentic with wanting to help people.
For sure.
And ultimately, like, when you help someone, especially obtain financial freedom, get their first rental, they're never going to forget that, man.
Yep.
And like, that means so much, because probably their family hasn't helped them do that. People are looking at them crazy.
Yep.
Have someone supportive, they're going to remember that forever. And you know what? Over time, things will come back around, whether you want it to or not. It's just the way that life goes, especially the way business goes.
100%, man. And like, as you were saying that, I thought about, even in the last couple of weeks, like, I get dozens of messages every week from people that are just starting out or whatever. And I get to pick your brain things all the time. And honestly, like, because I do want to help. I do want to get
20 things going on at a time.
And that's the thing. But people don't understand, and they don't see that. They don't get it. I understand. I empathize. But it's like, dude, everything that I'm doing with the podcast, it's like, it's all to give back. It's all to help. But as you were saying that, and I kind of formed in my brain, it comes down to effort, right? So somebody sends me a Facebook message saying, hey, how do I buy my first flip or something? And usually, like, now at this point, I kind of feel like a jerk sometimes when I do it, but it's like, dude, Google's your friend, Yeah. Or you can come to this meetup. Like, we do this group meetup once a month, come out there. I've never, ever, ever, ever turned anybody down on any question they've ever asked me in person. On social media, though, I do all the time, man, because it's an effort thing, right? It's like, if you don't even have, I don't know, the audacity or the balls to show up at an event where you're uncomfortable. I get it. You're the new guy in the room. But guess what? I was there.
Yep.
You were there.
All there, man.
Everybody did it, right? Show up, people want to help.
Yep.
That's why like most of the real estate networking things exist in the first place. It's the coolest community, man, that almost everybody that has any level of success wants to help, wants to give back.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to set yourself apart because of that fact. I mean, what you just said, you have dozens of people reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And they're usually tire kickers. I hate to say it.
I know.
Like with the resources out there, you could go on ChatGPT right now. Give me a 30-day plan to buy my first rental property in
Step
this
by
market.
step.
Step by step. You have the blueprint. It's not like you
there.
can't figure it out. It's you want someone to do it for you, which
Yep.
isn't going to happen. Or you don't, you don't want it bad enough.
That's
and you can't say that. So what are you going to do to set yourself apart? What effort are you going to take? And the moment someone sees effort, it's like, all right, man, well, he's going to be in the circle one day or another. So let's bring him in now and see what we can do.
Momentum breeds momentum, dude.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
All right, last question, and I'm pretty sure I know how you're going to answer anyway, but if you could go back to, just getting out of college and everything, experiencing everything that you have, would you have done anything differently?
Well, yeah. What do you mean? I would have bought everything under the sun.
Yeah, I knew that would be the answer.
Oh no, we're parking $3,000 in the deal. I would have done it dozens of times.
Yeah.
So that stings. I wish I didn't know. And it's you go through seasons, right? We've all been through the low interest rate cycle, and now we're seeing it's high. So I wish I knew that. It wasn't always going to be low. So maybe get projects done quicker or buy more while it's low because it's going to cash flow a whole lot more.
For sure.
And you're always holding rentals long term. So yeah, maybe if it's not the greatest deal, maybe you're not burning all your money out. If you have money to park, get the deal, man. Like you're going to hold it for 20, 30 years. Just do it. Like you're going to regret not doing it a couple years from now. And that's where I'm at now. I regret that. One other thing, I wish I did go all in earlier. I know you do need the life events to kind of kick you in the butt, but I do wish I went into real estate earlier. Now we've rode a great wave, so like that has played a factor into it. But I think that if I had started earlier, the lending business would have started earlier, and I would have just been able to help so many more people in the past 5 or 6 years. So I feel like I got a late track on that. But I mean, hindsight's 20/20. You just learn from it, and you become a better investor, business owner, person, friend after it all, and learn from it, and then try to make it a better next chapter.
Dude, something you just said there reminded me of something you said earlier in the conversation that resonated so deeply with me. You said something along the lines of, you feel obligated when you have the ability to do something and to share that message. And I think we were talking about the social media, and I get it. It's weird. It's awkward, but you feel obligated to do it. I just had this conversation. We were talking before we started about the guy that I kind of just shot from the hip a few weeks ago and said, I'm going to start a mastermind group and everything. And I realized that I really don't have the time to commit to that at the level that I would want to, right?
Yep.
So when I was having this conversation with him and just kind of saying, hey, I shot from the hip, I'm a real quick starter. I thought about it for 5 minutes and said, cool, let's run it. And I was telling him that's how I feel. And that's why I didn't need to think about that at all. Cause it's like fundamentally, I love the idea of doing it. I want to help. I want to give back. And I feel that to my core, that if you have the ability to do something that's going to help other people, you need to do it. Like that's it. Hands down, man. Like
so
you have to do it. I don't, I have the ability and I have,
we need to
I think
find
I have
someone.
the skills and the resources, but I don't have the time. So that's seriously, that's why I feel conflicted about it, because I do feel that I have the ability to give it back, but I can't fulfill on it. You know what I mean?
We need a who to fill that.
Yeah, but on that one specifically, I don't know that you can just plug a seat with that, right?
Can't.
It's like, it's kind of got to be me.
You can't.
But I just love that message, man. And I love that about you, that you feel that way, that because it comes down to an abundance mindset, right? It's if I have the ability to do something, I am obligated to do it.
Yep.
And a lot of people are lacking that today. And kind of, I feel that from a fundamental level is the exact opposite of selfishness.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to purpose. I feel like this is, I've gotten through all these trials and tribulations to get to this point. I would be doing a disservice if I didn't, right? This is now my purpose in this phase of life. I'm meant to do this. So let's do it. All in.
Dude, I love that. I love that. That's a great spot to wrap up. That is powerful. I appreciate you so much
It's been
coming
a pleasure,
on.
man.
Dude, so where can people find you?
Instagram, Facebook, Josh Wollaston. Last name's Wollaston.
Boom. There it is.
And that's it. You'll find everything there. We do a bunch of social media posts with the projects we fund, projects we do. So we're always trying to spread the word, all the cool projects our borrowers, like Drew here, are up to. I love it. So follow me there.
Quick idea here as we wrap up, thinking of marketing and everything. You should, like, with your borrowers, as they wrap up a project, maybe not sit down and do like a full podcast or anything, but just hop on Zoom and just kind of do a recap of the project. Maybe like scroll through some pictures. Huh? Dude, I think that'd be fantastic.
So did you just sign up to be the first one?
I will totally do it. Sign me up.
Check your schedule first.
I'm not only thinking of that as being a benefit for you attracting other borrowers, but that would be fantastic for people that you're trying to raise capital from as well, because everybody loves seeing the process of a piece of shit real estate house turning into something beautiful. And you're capturing that not just as like a time lapse. You're also bringing in the investor, the jockey that they would in turn be betting on through you. I think that'd be fantastic.
True, man. That's a good idea.
And a baby was born.
And that's how we end the show.
Josh, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate you.
It was a pleasure, man.
Boom.